Hey everybody, it's Liz Larson here with the Cogno Movement System. And many of you have been hearing us talking about third, fourth, and fifth dimension. And some of you I know have had some questions about it. So I'd like to answer some of those today. So, first of all, why are we talking about this? The third, fourth, and fifth dimension. It isn't some woo woo idea that doesn't really mean anything, that everybody's just, throwing this around to be trendy. Or is it really something that you can use in your life to understand something more or to actually change it? So for me, it's really important not just to buy into some trendy jargon. I really don't like that when we all just start talking about something that really is nonsense, that it means nothing. And it's just replacing some other kind of jargon that we've used before to explain something about our lives. This is one of those things that could easily fall into that category. Except that for me, this one is really, really important. And the words are not important, the third, fourth, or fifth dimension. What really is important is what they mean and how they really can drive your life in a positive or a negative way. So we've all heard we're in a 3D world. We're not talking about 3D in that way. What we're talking about is something that is a term that's used to describe a vibratory level or a consciousness level. So both of those can be tricky as well. Are they just trendy and do they mean nothing? So vibratory really does mean this. It means your actual vibration, but it really means the patterns that emanate from your own electromagnetic hormonal system. So when you have a thought, your body sends hormones and chemicals and electricity to your brain through a feeling state so that this feeling is either something good and nothing we have to worry about, or something bad and we need to put our nervous system's attention on it to create movement in the body. Do we get up and go? Do we run? Do we hide? Do we fight? Really, really vital information. When your body is more focused on fear, shame, guilt, blame, even desire, anger, those kind of vibrations, we would call them lower vibrations. They're important though, because they give your brain information. The problem is, so often the body is focused on those specifically, sending those chemicals. And when your body's doing that, you're actually emanating a pheromone, a smell. Cortisol is very, very apparent in the field around our body, but you're sending out kind of a wave of that thing: blame, shame, fear, anger. And it's true that everybody around you feels it. So you know this to be true as well of other people. You know that when you walk in a room and everybody's been fighting, you sense it. Your spidey senses, are up. Your spouse or your significant other, without them opening their mouth, whether or not they're in a good or bad mood. In fact, a lot of you know when they're on their way home, you sort of feel it before they ever arrive because so many of us are so connected. This pattern that emanates from our body, it actually bounces around between each of us. Like we bounce off it of each other. So in a home, in a family, you'll find that you have a theme. Maybe that theme is of blame. Maybe that theme is of anger, where you find parents are constantly at war with their children, or spouses are constantly at odds for not a lot of reason. But here's the issue: your mind will make up a reason for that feeling that you all kind of have. It's this general unease. So when people are in a lot of these states of these lower emotions, we would say they're kind of what's called the third dimension. Why? What a dimension refers to is really your awareness. What does the world look like to you? How do you perceive it? And how you perceive it also makes the difference in how you receive information. So, a person whose body is running on what we call the fourth dimension or outside of all that blame, shame, guilt, fear receives information differently than somebody whose body is running all those patterns of blame, shame, guilt, fear. A person in that fourth dimension or in a little bit of a higher awareness state, free of those heavy physical patterns, it's physical, it's not logical, just physical. So, we're not putting blame on anyone because oftentimes they have no idea that those patterns are running in their body. But that fourth dimension person, they'll receive my spouse is in a bad mood in a different way than a person who's running those heavy, weighty emotions will receive that information. So a person in the fourth dimension will see their spouse in a bad mood or perceive and think, I wonder what I can do to help change that. They won't automatically take it personally. When you have all these heavy patterns running in your body of blame, shame, guilt, fear, pride, all of that stuff, you immediately take that information. There's something wrong with them. I know it has something to do with me, and I'm going to fight back. You may have just felt that in your body. Notice if that's you. If when there's something wrong in the world around you, you immediately believe it's about you and you start to fight back. That's what we mean by the third dimension. It's just a way to explain that state of being in shame, blame, fear, guilt, all those emotions. There's a thing called the Hawkins scale. It's by David Hawkins, and it really kind of rated these emotions on a scale of energy, really how much the body consumes of energy while focused on shame. It's the lowest one, and your body is consuming most of your energy to focus on that particular emotion. Again, it's not here, it's not really your logical mind. But when your body is really running this pattern of shame, your logical mind is focused on it, and there's really not a lot of energy to focus on other things, including healing and sleep and focus and mood, all of those things. So we will see someone whose life is not working so well because they don't have a lot of physical energy to do the things that actually could make their life better. So a person who has figured out a way to do that, not have their body so focused on those lower, very heavy emotions, they will react differently to the life around them, to the things that come in, to their field, into their eyes, into their mind, into their body. They will tend to have less illness. They find way more solution. Why? Because their body just has more energy to send to those solutions, like healing, like loving other people, like actually making the world better. In a 3D place, we will want the world to be better, but we want it to be better by you changing, and you change, and you change, and you change. And then my world will be better. In that higher emotional or higher vibrational state, we know that we can make that change, and we do. And so people who have deleted those heavy patterns now find themselves, it's easier to manifest. It's easier to have the relationship that you want. Even with those people that you thought were the worst people on the planet, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I recognize what that's about. And I can change the way I feel about that and see the beauty in them. So your world changes very, very quickly. Now, within that fourth dimension, there are always things that, we react to and that cause us trouble and that are painful. And people within that fourth dimension who now know how to very quickly change that pattern in their system, not accept it, not accept, oh, I'm being blamed for that, and dropping down into that, fighting back. Now you think, oh, I'm being blamed for that. I'm curious about what pattern is running in my body, that why I'm perceiving that. Why is that so close in my vicinity here. And then those people, we who do cognitive movement especially, will take that on and find that vibration in our nervous system. Yes, I mean our nervous system, the thing that creates fight or flight in the body, will take that on and tune it, change that vibration, change the channel on that, so that we now have the power to create the change in our lives, in what's in our vicinity, in what we see, and in what we experience. Now, that is what moves a person into what's called the fifth dimension. It's just a higher state of awareness or consciousness. Now the world looks very, very different. What's interesting is this, what signifies it is that person now has full control, but also full acceptance of everything that happens in their life. There is no sense of victimhood or blame, because now we're taking responsibility for how we feel, how we react, and how things affect us. So this is not victim shaming or blaming. It's really that I may have something bad happen in my life. Now, how does it affect me? And how does it affect my life moving forward? So there are tools that they use to make sure that their system is not corrupted by something heavy, like those lower energies that create a pattern in the system. Now, it does not mean that somebody doesn't get mad when there's something to get mad about. It does not mean that they don't fight back if there's something that they need to protect, like their family. What it does mean is they handle that situation, and from that moment forward, they move forward in their life, not having that corrupt file of a singular moment in time really poisoning the rest of their life and their system. They clean it out quickly and are able to move forward in life. See, this is what's important to understand about the third, fourth, and fifth dimension. We've been weighted down by this idea that we must pack our bag every day full of every bad thing that ever happened to us and then fight against it. Fight, 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 fight. All of those things that are no longer happening in our lives, but did happen at one time. This creates such a drain in energy and such a focus on the negative things that happen that there isn't any energy to move forward. And this is why we feel so stuck in our lives. So this is why Bill and I have really committed our lives to helping other people regain their physical, biological, emotional, and spiritual energy, horsepower, back into their bodies, where they can start to reclaim and reclaim and reclaim their future, where those people can become who they came to the planet to be without those installation, those corrupt files of all those little things in our lives that happen to us, so that people can put down the bags they've been carrying with them and simply only take with them on their life moving forward what they choose. Now, there are things that happened in our life that shaped us, that in the moment were awful. I've had them too. But later on in life, you take what things were of value. You take the things that are useful, things that you learned, ways that you learned you were strong, your resilience, maybe tools you learned for how to create a solution and get out of that problem. You take those. But the pain of that you can leave behind. This is what's important in that fourth and fifth dimension. You are literally vibrating at a rate, a cleaner, it's like your gas in your car has become dirty and now you get it cleaned out. And now the carburetor runs much better. And now you're better fuel efficiency. There's no blame on the car because it got a dirty carburetor, but you clean it out. You maintain that system. And that's what we're talking about, is cleaning out and then maintaining a system that absolutely is yours to clean out and maintain. So this is what we do day in and day out. Our Cogno Movement Essentials program does that. You can use it to do for yourself, but a couple of times a year now, we do what's called a Cogno Conscious event. And it is specifically designed to very rapidly over 4 days do that clean out system, clean out that heavy, weighty, gunky, junky stuff that's clogging up your nervous system, your energetic system, and preventing you from moving on in your life. The other thing that it does is it introduces your body to those higher levels, the fourth and fifth dimension. See, most of us have no idea what it's like to feel satisfied, happy, much less joyful, blissful, or enlightened. We don't, because we haven't created a hook for that eye. So the Cogno Movement event in the second 2 days, we actually introduce the body to that feeling. What does it feel like? What is the state that we're in on a more regular basis that feels something like strangely satisfied, or that feels something like strangely happy? It is the weirdest thing when you're just in generally happy for no good reason. Most people think that's a weirdo, but there's some of us who actually get comfortable in that state. Now, imagine what you can create when you're vibrating a happy state. Imagine the people that want to be with you. Imagine the conversations you could have and the success you could create, the ideas that you could have. Imagine how much you could love the people and the pets and the things in your life if you just weren't constantly running from a lion or a dragon that is not there anymore. So I just kind of wanted to explain some of the things that we're talking about when it's fourth and fifth dimension. And it's not really gobbledygook, it's not really jargon. It is a thing that explains just consciousness. And if you don't even like the word consciousness, your awareness, what you actually become aware of, how you see the world, your worldview, and more than that, how you react. So I want to encourage anybody who's hearing my voice, who really believes they're ready to clear out some of these heavier, weightier issues in their life, and who really actually wants to start to live in that state of joyful and happy. Some of us don't. Some of us don't even believe it's a good thing. But I can tell you it really is. People's lives become radically, radically different after these events. People have healed relationships that have been a lifelong train wreck. Many, many people at every event have that experience. People have manifested the house of their dreams again and again and again. People have actually attracted new relationships. But more than anything, people will find there's about 1,000 little things that shift. And all of a sudden, their life is different. Now, this is not like any other event where you go and you've got this high and then you crash. This actually is an event that expands your consciousness and awareness for months and even years after the event. You'll notice little changes, and life just keeps bumping up and up and up because you have the energy to do that if you choose. That's really the bottom line. So Cogno Conscious is happening in the first week of October 2023. So I encourage you to go to cognomovement.com/Cogno Conscious. Or you can just come to the Cogno Movement homepage and go to the events and look it up and get some information about this and see if it's right for you. 4 days in sunny Southern California, San Diego, where we all get together and really joyfully, and it's very tough, but really joyfully change our lives in ways that we just didn't think were possible before, and they are now. You can change your life and move into that fourth and fifth dimension where the things you want are actually readily available. All right, you guys, I'm Liz Larson with Cogno Movement System, and we'll talk again really soon.